Good afternoon, madam.
Okay, so we are going to look at the fourth factor that promotes national unity, that is the use of mass media, in which they are used to disseminate information to a large number of people at the same time. Now, in our country, for example, we have different types of mass media. That is, we have the use of radio, we have the use of televisions, and also we have the use of written materials like newspapers, we have magazines. So those are examples of mass media. Now, mass media is one of the ways in which our country has actually used to promote national unity, in the fact that we know that in mass media, this information that is disseminated, it reaches different people, that is many people at the same time. Now, therefore, there is no biasness in the dissemination of that information. Everyone gets the information at the same time. And then also, it promotes the rights of one's freedom of expression. For instance, we know that sometimes in the mass media, you may be called upon maybe to give views on issues that are related to the citizens. For instance, when there is the reviewing of the constitution of maybe a certain country, you are called upon as citizens to give your views towards the same. So because mass media promotes that our freedom of expression, and we know that if your freedom is actually promoted, then you live at peace. So that's one way in which it also promotes national unity. We know that also mass media can act as a hindrance of national unity, in the fact that, you know, sometimes the mass media may disseminate information that is contrary to maybe certain cultural principles or cultural values. For instance, maybe the mass media, you may hear something like maybe somebody is for abortion, something of that sort, and in your culture you don't allow abortion at all. So when such information gets to you, then you get disrupted. That is, you get to be in disharmony because you don't accept actually the information that has been brought to you by the mass media. So that's one way in which mass media tend to hinder national unity. Any question?
Madam, what about the incitement? As we've heard from radios all over the world, from international channels, from local news networks, that indeed the radio did incite one community in this country against other tribes in the 2007-2008 post-election violence.
Okay, that's one way actually in which the media has also acted to hinder national unity, because when such an information is given to you, that an insight has come to you through the media, that maybe what you have said actually you are incited maybe to act against a certain community. You see, in such a way, it tends to also hinder national unity. Yeah, so that's one way in which media, mass media, hinder national unity. Any other question? Okay, thank you for listening.
The last factor that we want to look at as one of the factors that are very important in national building, that's national integration, is economic growth. Now, economic growth is a function of the gross national product. That is the ability of a country or other group of people to retain their surplus value and use the same value, surplus value, to invest. They reinvest back into the economy. So, economic growth as a factor that promotes national unity manifests itself in several ways. Urbanization, which other way?
Fair distribution of resources.
Fair.
Equity.
Okay, just make it distribution of resources. Okay.
Common currency.
Um,
Common
common
currency.
currency. And lastly, employment. Urbanization refers to the process by which new towns, urban centers emerge from the pre-existing villages. An urban center is a settlement that has more than 10,000 people. Urban centers are not to be melting points. They're melting points for the various communities. For example, we've said there are more than 42 communities in this country. And if you move in any urban center, you'll find that all of them are represented. So in any urban center, what happens? People develop a new urban culture. A new urban culture. They come together, they live together, then they come to tolerate and understand each other's culture, each other's social settings. So by so doing, they'll have to live in harmony, peacefully, without conflicting at all. Urban centers. So urban centers can promote national unity. How? By ensuring that people understand one another. They live harmoniously without any problems. Urban centers can be used negatively to be a setback against national unity, national integration, national building. How? When people claim that a given town like maybe Eldoret, Kisumu City, Mombasa, is to be inhabited solely by a given group of people, say the Kalenjin community, as it was the case in the post-election violence in the year 2007-2008, when groups who were deemed not to be the aborigines to Eldoret town were flashed out of it from other parts of the country again. So by so doing, urbanization will be acting against national unity. Okay, the next factor is what? Distribution of resources. As it is stated clearly in the Constitution, resources on the national cake must be equitably distributed. That's to ensure that all the parts of this country get what is duly theirs. So, resources, if they're distributed equitably, they will act to promote national unity. What's LATIF in full? LATIF, Local Authority Transfer Funds. We've had fund kids like what? Like CDF, Constituency
Development Fund.
Constituency Development Fund. These were put in place to ensure that not any one of these parts of this country is marginalized when it comes to the distribution of the national cake, the national resources. If a given part of the country is given more than what it should be given, another part will feel isolated, marginalized, as it has been the case in northern Kenya, northeastern Kenya, the coastal region of Kenya. In fact, just the other day, the Mombasa Republican Council declared Pwani C Kenya. Why? Because they feel marginalized. They don't really get what is expected of them. So if the resources are not equally or rather equitably distributed, what will happen? They will bring about a disruption in the fabric of the nation. Okay. Employment. Employment is one of the other factors that promote national unity. If it is given out equitably, fairly, that is, somebody disregarding his background, social background, ethnic background, the type of people he hangs out with, should be given equal chances when it comes to employment. As in, the papers one holds should speak for him, and not how much money he has in his pocket, or rather, whom he happens to know. So if employment is fairly distributed, it will help bring about national integration. Everybody will feel okay, no problem. So what will happen? People will live in harmony. But if the same is done negatively, that is, a given group of people is given due advantage over the other. Like, for example, through corruption, one has a lot of money, so he bribes to get a given job. Whoever has been outcompeted will feel isolated, marginalized. So the two people will never live in peace. So if the same happens on a large scale, we shall have the country being divided into two groups, the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor. So that balkanizes the country. Corruption. We've had cases where people are employed according to their ethnic backgrounds. What should happen? This is dividing the country down, back to its ethnic backgrounds, which is against what? National building, national unity. Any question so far? If there's no question, have a good day.
Same to you.